Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we've got a 25-point battle report that I don't know why I keep saying 25 points. It's Brawlmachine. So it's just a Brawlmachine battle report. So
they talked about like Brawlmachine 2.0 of like a 50 a while ago. I remember they mentioned it like it might happen.
I think their latest one now is like Brawlmachine is 1.0 now, like the solidified 1.0, and then the next thing they're working on is Company of Iron that doesn't suck.
Yeah, it's like a narrative scenarios and stuff.
Something.
So this week I'm playing Iona in Tharn for Brawl. I wanted to bust out something I feel like I don't think she's too powerful for Brawl. I just think she's one of those solid casters who her kit scales down from 75 to 25 really well, because she can still take the thing she wants, a max unit of Ravagers with UA, and just does work under her feet. So of course I'm playing in Tharn, so I have a Blood Shaman, a Stalker, and a Satyr, and then for my Wreck option I have a Wolf Rider Champion, and then I have the full Ravager boat of Ravagers with UA. And then my specialists, I have a White Mane, a Lord of the Feast, and a Night Witch, just so I can swap in with like my solos. Like the Night Witch can sub in and get me some Dispel action if there's so many major upkeeps on my Ravagers, and then I can swap in a White Mane or a Lord of the Feast for more accuracy or grievous wounds if I need it.
For my list, I decided to bring my point-a-day paint challenge list. I was really hoping to get it done by the time October rolled around, but just a couple things came up that made it so I couldn't finish, so I was at least going to commit to the game, and that is Aurora 2, so Archnumen Aurora. Newman. So I'm playing this in Strange Bedfellows because it's probably one of the better ones to play her in anyways. My battle group is a Toro and Assimilator, and for what it's worth, I'm sticking my flag in the ground that this is a Convergence list and not a Mercs list, because I think that Mercs shouldn't have access to it.
Oh boy, we'll have that discussion later.
Yeah, and then for the rest of the list, it's going to be Prefect Hypatia, a Void Archon, Widget, and Algorithmic Dispersion Optifex. Then my requisition is a unit of Negation Angels, and then I'm paying for some Clockwork Angels. I opted not to build a Specialists set for this list, mostly because I just was really focusing on the painting of the battle group, so I didn't really get the chance to put one together. And I really don't think, looking at the way the list is built, that I really would want to. The ADO is really just a cheap solo, and taking things out kind of really limits. Like, the things that I have in here are just so impactful that taking them out for some tech piece takes a lot of tools away from the list. It's not like there's filler points in here or filler solos outside of the ADO.
I mean, there's scrap thralls.
But then it would be, scrap thralls are two. Yeah, I guess I could take out the ADO for those, but I think it's fine for trying to get the Arc Node HOD.
Yeah, and the Arc Node for Blighted Gale if you need the strip flight for something.
Yeah, so I think the list is fine the way it is and doesn't need the specialists. So we are playing on the binary Brawlmachine 1.0 update that came out just the day that we filmed this episode. And the big changes for this one is that the zones get spread out a little bit more left to right, and that the flags get pulled back a little bit too. The flags are normally 18 up and 18 in, but now they're 17 up and 17 in, so it's not like you are so condensed in the middle. There's a little bit more spread out gameplay for this. But Ethan won the first turn, so how about you take us through your measurements here?
Sure. So to sound like a broken record, every single game I win the roll, I say I went first because I needed to get up the board to respect your threat ranges. And as you can see from his AD line, he threatens almost to the edge of the zone, bottom of 1. Like if Gaspy was in this list, because he's not allowed in Brawlmachine, but like imagine Strange Bedfellows in general, but with Gaspy there, like you do threaten almost the whole zone. So there I put up Surefoot, Iona walks into the woods, and I run a Ravager or two into range of his threats if he feats, apparates, and then the rest are just kind of holding back.
Yeah, he's like the Vengeance bait.
Yep, because my guys only threaten 11 without Vengeance, 13 with a cute Hunter's Mark, but then that leaves Iona kind of in the danger zone because I don't have an Arc Node. My Wolf Rider champ is proxied by Anissa Reval.
Because
I left mine at home, and she's on the bottom of the screen where you can't see.
Yeah, I always zoom these in, but when you go wide on those, they always kind of fall off.
Yeah, because I need to keep her out of threats, but use the contest the flag.
with my army, I threat super duper far. That's not a huge shocker to anyone here. But the issue that I have right now is that if I go ahead and unpack to take down one, maybe I could get 2 Ravagers. I'm not sure if the measurements work out for that one that's in the top part of the bottom zone. But I can either take one and take the Vengeance bait and repo back and then just like watch it so that the Ravagers don't get any Vengeance attacks, but I end up getting out of or I get out of their Vengeance threat, but then they just get charged anyways because they're kind of clumped up because the Angels can spread out, but just not a ton. Or I can just try and be coy and stay out of Ethan's threat range, because if he stays out of, or if I stay out of his threat range at the bottom of 1, it means that he's got to go somewhere, because I might have a little bit easier time kind of bullying his zones a little bit, or at least kind of holding down the fort on my side, especially considering I can get to his flag pretty easily with this list. Like, the forest doesn't bother me. The obstructions don't bother me here. I can just go over all of them. So to start out with my turn, I've decided to apparate the Angels forward. Aurora ends up putting up her dodge and repo 5 battle plan for the turn. And I'm essentially just trying to, I think we put Arcane Propulsion on the Toro as well. That's kind of how he's gotten to where he is.
Yeah, he flew over the rock.
Yep, so he flies in his +2 speed right now, so that's fun, and defense for what it's worth. So I get him behind the forest because the forest doesn't bother him either, because I don't really need to charge with him in order to get a lot of efficacy out of him. So he's just kind of hanging out by Aurora, and right now I'm kind of like contemplating, like, do I just move my Angels back? Because right now, after I've apparated, I'm within Hunter's Mark threat of the Ravagers. So I decide to, instead of trying to like push them around and possibly damaging them, I've kind of like gone back and forth, and I'm just going to say, yep, I'm going to keep all my stuff out of Ethan's threat, because he's going to have to come up unless he wants to just like stay on his side of the table all game. But this way I can kind of turtle back in my little area here, not worry about a whole lot of things getting to me. And then I've got this big Void Archon threat, and just waiting to see Ethan unpack.
Yeah, I wanted to give him like options and have to try and decide what he needed to do. And it is worth noting we are playing with the extra time on the clock.
Yeah, and that 1.0 thing, they said 35 minutes is the standard, and that's good for me considering I took a 10-minute turn 1. But that this is all because this is the first time I've played Aurora 2, so like in reality, if I were to get a couple games under my belt, it probably wouldn't be this crazy.
And then here I'm trying to see like, okay, I'm going to put up a Ravager because I'm like, now I'm contesting the flag. I'm measuring max 9 and where I'm staying outside Angel threat with my UA. So I'm going to be max 9, outside 14.5, because they're speed 7, apparate 2, feet gives +2. So now that's effectively 11. They charge 14, and they have half edge. And now I'm just moving some dudes up, hanging around, because now I'm like, you have to kill that Ravager if you want to score your zone or your flag, and then you're going to proc Vengeance, and then I'm going to clear my zone trivially with it. But what I didn't respect is, like, I was looking at the Angels and didn't look at the Void Archon, so I think I realized later on in my turn, like, yeah, that's a Void Archon back there, so that's nice. So I do run up the Goat, because my plan is, like, I know the Toro can just fly over, punch and kill a Goat, and then in my head, I'm like, okay, then the Stalker can come in, clear the Toro, and then, like, that's an even peace trade. Because the Goat has Counter Slam, but Counter Slam is such a funky rule and almost impossible to get off unless it's, like, you gotcha your opponent with it.
Yeah, it's not as good as Counter Charge at all.
And you have to accidentally gotcha. Like, they have to literally line it up for you. So I didn't want to do the Gnarlhorn as the second wave, and I figured, like, throwing away a 12-point Gnarlhorn I don't care about, but losing my 17-point Stalker and access to sprint is rough. So I just kind of reposition and wait.
All right, so I've got a lot of cool options in front of me now, because Ethan has started to instigate the peace trade, and I don't really care much about losing a ton here. I don't think it's going to happen. So I start, and I take quite a bit of time to try and line up this Void thing, because Ethan's right. He didn't quite see how the Void Archon was going to be able to unpack, because, and this is usually something that gets me, right? Because, like, the Void Archon is such a weird, like, package of threat vectors. Like, he can just do so much in so many different directions. So what I end up trying to figure out here is, like, how am I going to go ahead and put this Void Archon out? Because I can charge over my own stuff because everything's flying here and I just don't care about it. So my goal is to charge the one Ravager that's kind of more towards the front of my flag, the one that's contesting it. And my goal is to punch him, kill him on the charge, and then teleport somewhere where I can... either, I think we're just barely out of reach of being able to get to the UA. So I have to be able to kill this one, get the soul, so I can try and get the UA with the spray instead of using the melee attack. I was trying to also kind of work out some vectors to get more than one Ravager with the spray, because Ethan's got them lined up in a really nice fashion. But unfortunately, it just isn't, I'm not able to unpack that all that much. I'm not able to get the lines right. So I end up taking the easy actions first. My Toro's fully loaded up and goes into his Satyr. This is what Ethan wanted. He wanted me to try and do this peace trade with his Satyr, so that I take the Satyr, he takes the Toro, and then life is good. So the one thing that I think Ethan didn't really respect is Spirit Door.
Yeah, I forgot she had that spell.
So one of the cool things I feel like about Aurora at the 25 points, and we had kind of talked about this during our game, is that she gets a lot of access to her full kit at 25 points, where at 50 or where at 75 points you really might not get a whole lot of use out of something that's like Spirit Door. You might get some like short like cool corner case clutch plays here and there, the cute plays, right? But her army is so fast that typically the Warjacks in her list aren't going to be doing a lot of work until late game, so Spirit Door just doesn't feel like it would come up very often. But in 25 points, I've taken 12 points from Ethan. That's half of his battle group. That's almost half of his army outside the battle group points. And now I can just Spirit Door that Toro away and not worry about that Stalker at all. So Ethan had kind of set up a fun little trap for me, or just forced the peace trades, but I don't have to deal with that anymore because Spirit Door will get me out of this problem.
Yeah, like, I'm still living in a world where they didn't take Kaya's one signature spell and give it to better casters. It's worth me noting, I did a cute thing here. The Toro bought an attack on the Ravager and missed with Surefoot in the woods, so what I did is I dodge moved to turn, so if a Void wants to charge that dude, he would take a free strike. That's why he had to back up, and now he's not in port range of the Ravager UA without taking a free strike, and I don't think you wanted to risk the boosted dice -4.
Yeah, so this was like kind of the thing that kind of shot my turn down a little bit. I'm still kind of, even though it's changed, I'm still kind of working in this thing where previously, I think I even messed up the turn order before because I said I couldn't do it, but when Ethan had his Ravager, and I shouldn't have taken the stupid swing at him, but I had range to get the melee attack and a spray onto that UA, and that was pretty good odds that it goes down with no feet up or anything. But now I've got to kind of restructure my whole plan to only go for the spray. Aurora did end up going and teleported back here. I didn't do anything with her gun or anything like that, just because I didn't want to take out the one target that I needed for the Void, because I don't think the Void wants to go into the one in the woods at all. So I do take down that Ravager that I charged, but it takes my second initial to do so.
And that one was outside dodge range.
Yeah, I ended up missing my first attack, so that was lucky that he was out of command with the
leadership dodge.
Yeah, with the leadership dodge deal. So now I just have to figure out where I can teleport, and I think this is where I spend a little bit more time than what I should trying to figure out, like, now since I've lost my super big play of being able to get the Void into that UA. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can get the Void Archon to stay inside. I think Aurora maybe even feated this.
She did feat.
Yeah, so I want to try and keep the Void in feat and try and get as many Ravagers as I can. But unfortunately, I'm just not able to do it in a way to keep the Void in feat range and get the ones that I want, or get the damage buff right, because I want that POW 16 spray, not the POW 14 for this. So I end up just saying, okay, we're going to keep me at max spray range and just go for that UA. So I get into position. I have to boost the hit here because the Void is... I don't have problems really doing the damage here with feet up, but I do want to make sure that I hit this, and I wasn't able to get extra souls at all, and unfortunately, I only roll a 5, so that was no good. And then the Void does get to repo back because I did stay within command of Aurora, so he'll get the little repo afterwards. Unfortunately, my whole army's kind of like clustered back here, so I'm not able to repo the Void Archon into safety. He's just kind of not super in the front anymore. So Prefect Hypatia goes, and she tries to get spicy with just taking a shot on the UA, just to like maybe knock him down or do something, but she ends up coming up short on hitting as well. So I decide that it's time to just jam with Angels. But then I think after this, I realized, like, no, this is not what we do here, Brian. We're not giving you Angels for free because I procced Vengeance on you. So there's a lot of things going on here. So I just end up spreading the Angels out so that Ethan's got to come up to them. And I figure that maybe I can use, like, the Void Archon or the Assimilator to come in and deal with those Ravagers afterwards. And my other Angels run completely over to the other side of the table, mostly to contest Ethan's flag. But I've also done something by giving his Stalker something to do. You do get to start your turn with me going to 2 and you not scoring anything.
Yep. And like things could have went way worse with the Void. Like luckily he missed his attack. I was able to dodge move and then like reposition around, because losing the Gnarlhorn and you just basically having a yo-yo Toro that can hide behind those woods is like, I'm never going to get to the Toro.
Yeah, being able to hide behind the woods and unpack and then do what I need to and get him out of there, whether he succeeds or not, is a really nice trick for Aurora.
Yep, because he's movement 7 with flight, so like if I stay outside his walk punch range of 9, he can just trample 10 with reach, buy 2 attacks, and then spirit door away and just do it every turn. Mm-hmm. So there I do a Vengeance swing. I think I take one in the Void and miss. So I know I'm going to be feeding, but I really want to clear my bottom or clear my flag, because like I think I have the bottom zone squared up. Like I'm going to feed. There's plenty of Ravagers alive. I'm going to just flood them and try and kill everything on that side.
With Ethan missing, I really should have dodged with that Void Archon, but I didn't because I wasn't thinking about it. It's so weird to get cool buffs from a Merc caster like that.
Oh yeah, because you had dodge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that would have changed things, too. I mean, I guess I'm still in threat of charging him no matter where he dodges to, thanks to Tree Walker. So there I'm trying to measure some cute, like, okay, if Iona charges over here, and then, like, I can put Pursuit on the Toro. That way, like, oh, if he tries to yo-yo it, he comes up, I Pursuit away. And then, like, after planning this out for a couple minutes of where, like, the Heavy would have to go to get out of my way, I realized, like, wait, it's a stupid Toro. And Pursuit does not stop Toros because they have countercharge.
Yep, you can't get away. If I get base to base with you, you can't get far enough away to deny me my countercharge.
Yep, I mean, yes, because I'm speed 6.
Yep.
So, like, it would just basically net him 2 free charges. At worst, it would make how far up his caster has to go the spirit door back. But then I realized, like, it's not worth putting Iona over there and, like, shifting the feet way over, because her plan was to sprint, like kill a chick, blood boon the Pursuit, and I'm still measuring it out because I haven't mathed it out yet. And then, like, eventually I'm gonna abandon this plan. But it's just more of like waiting for my body to catch up. And like I do waste a lot of time on this, and now I'm measuring where the Stalker can walk and punch just to kill those 3 ladies. Hopefully clear my flag and then stop him from contesting next turn. And then just to make sure that he can get the 6 inches, we do pause the clock so we can grab some steppers and then we come back. I love these things. So then it does turn out I could walk and I have like an extra inch to spare. So my Stalker can go up, get engagement range on all 3. He needs 8s, but I can warp Berserk. So he walks to there, warps Berserk, and then he starts taking punches. So he punches the lady next to him with his fist, boosts the hit. It hits, auto kills. He berserks with the sword into the lady in front. and boost the hit.
Yeah,
hits.
that one was exactly hit because she was the last angel that was in command to be able to dodge out, and that would have really helped here.
Yep. So now I'm debating. I'm berserking. Like, do I boost this 8 or do I try and take an 8? Because I want it to be able to be on 3.
So that you could lightning strike, right?
I want it to be on 2 and then lightning strike away and still have a transfer target. Because in my mind, like, I'm worried if I miss the void and it lives or something happens, like Iona dies if she can't transfer. So I do end up having to boost. I boost the attack and then I sprint. So that way I can get out of the stupid yo-yo range. So I do place him out just outside walk and punch range.
Yeah,
so he would have to trample.
Yep. But that gets rough because the Toro's not great at hitting a Warpwolf.
And that's what I figured. Like, I saw his clock was low, so like if he tramples, buys, he needs 8s. So like that would kind of waste some of his clock. And then I do end up feeding with Iona, and it's just trying to measure. Like, I opt to come up, and I'm like, okay, if this void lives, I want to have an out, and I have no transfer targets anyway, so I can spend my fury how I want. So I'm gonna walk up, get within 10 feet. And then put out a boosted pursuit. That way Iona can walk away if the void wants to try and get to melee. Because I'm in range of the spray, but not of the punch and the teleport. So there I ended up missing and then reroll with the feet. Because that was where I realized I moved the Ravager to engage. So I guess the Ravager didn't take an attack. I think I literally just walked him to position the charge. And I walked him into engagement range.
Yeah, that's likely.
So the Wolf Rider champ walks up, jumps, punches an angel in the butt with the mount, gets backstab. So sadly, under feet, the mount doesn't get +3 strength, but it's still an auto kill. So hits, kills.
Yeah, because mounts are treated like weapons, so.
Yep. Or no, she punched Hypatia, and I wasn't in the rear, so I didn't get...
Yeah, you were just going deep into Hypatia on that one instead of trying to clear angels.
Yep, because I figured the Ravagers could. So... The mount left her on 1. I had to take my javelin. Javelin killed her, and then I threw at the ADO. And then, because she has dual attack, and now I repo 5 over the wall onto the flag. Because now I'm going to be super cute, and like I'm going to try and score 3 this turn. So there I'm just measuring where I can go to not get countercharged. So I decided to put a Ravager up in front of the Stalker. To try and, like, if he wants to get to the Stalker, it gets weird with, like, trampling past and then taking a free strike with how I positioned him. And then I'm just measuring, make sure I can get my charge without taking a counter charge. And then I'm just charging in Ravagers under feet, which is what Iona loves to do. And I even get a couple of them into the woods. So now with Surefoot and Forest or Tree Walker, they're def 17. And I want to say all but 2 of them are in dodge range. So, like, it's a good place for Ravagers to be. And then I end up boosting to hit on the... Void, and then my charge damage does really poopy at dice +1.
Yeah, it leaves him on 5, and then your last attack just clears him.
Yep, dice +1, and I boost with the next guy. He hits, he kills. UA redirects, hits, kills. No corpses, because none of these ladies are living. Next one hits, kills. Next one hits, kills, because I just need rerollable 7s. And then that's pretty much my turn. My spell slave stays on the flag, and I score 3, so it's 3-2.
So I definitely lost a bunch on that turn, and the scenario lead that I had is kind of gone. The things that I'm thankful for is that I've still got my battle group at least, and there's a lot of flexibility in that. I don't have a feat anymore, but Ethan's feat's kind of passed over now too. Or no, you feated this turn, didn't you?
I did feat, so
yep,
I get my
see
+3
I see the token now. So I do have to swing up a little bit, but good enough for me, though, that I don't have to worry about being able to damage these Ravagers so much because I'm dice damage on them with my Toro. And with the Assimilator, it's a POW 13 Weapon Master attack, so that's pretty decent too going into Armor 18. It's not likely to kill them, but...
dice -5.
Yeah.
Weapon Master, that's pretty average to kill.
It's a little above average, I think, right? Because I need a 10 to get you.
Yep.
So it's like that on that weird teeter point of what is average and what isn't on 3d6. So I think I'm just kind of going in the tank a little bit, even though I don't have a ton of time here, just trying to figure out what exactly it is that I need to do. I don't want to die from the Stalker, so I'm like, what do I want to do with this Toro? Because I could like throw him up and take out a couple Ravagers, and then have Iona put some focus onto the Assimilator. I think that's really what I'm trying to do, is figure out focus allocation. And I figure that having Spirit Door is a lot more important to me than having a fully loaded Assimilator. So I put the Toro up. He just walks forward and starts deciding to take punches at these Ravagers. I boost my hit into the one that's in my zone, and that one gets crushed and does not tough. So I'm already on a good trajectory so far. So now the next thing that I have is this stupid Ravager in the forest, and I think the camera dies here. So the Toro did end up killing the one Ravager that was in the forest. We ended up connecting with that one. The reason why he's kind of existing where he is right now is that Aurora had to kind of boogie up and tried to take a shot at someone, and then repoed back into the zone. So that meant that I had to do Spirit Door before I moved back into the zone. So the Toro's kind of hanging out here, and the Assimilator ended up getting a little spicy. He needed to pull a big win here, and charged Ravager. Ended up missing, but he's at least contesting the flag and the zone.
Yeah, so Brian was only down to 4 models, and he didn't think he could get a lane to Iona because with stealth and how far back she was. So he's contesting his flag pretty hard with 2 models. There I have to Vengeance forward to engage the Toro so it doesn't countercharge my dudes and get into the zone. So there I just turn around, stay engaged, do a couple swings. I think I do a few points of damage to the Assimilator with the one that actually hits.
Yeah, there's a little bit of damage that goes on him here and there. It's not a ton, but every little bit counts for what you're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, especially post feat. Like it's dice -3 on the charge, and I'm not planning on scoring his flag because I can't like kill the dude. I can't kill Widget and the 2 jacks, so I jump forward so I don't proc countercharge.
And you don't take a free strike from Widget with that mighty POW 11.
Hey, if it hits. So I do my mount attack in the butt with backstab. I do my melee javelin in the butt with backstab. I do my thrown javelin in the butt with backstab. Those 2 are weapon master dice -9s. They pretty much she half health them almost. And then repos just to stay engaged with the Toro because I'm mathing out like, okay, if this Ravager charges the Assimilator, they get the -3. When he turns to face, he will no longer be looking at the Toro, so the Toro will not be engaged and can countercharge. So I have to repo to engage with the lady. And then here I'm just doing my charges, like charging at weird angles to get my 3 inches, stay engaged. And now here I make a mistake and I charge out of the zone into the Assimilator because I didn't trust 3 Ravagers to do it. So now my UA, I think this is the point where I realize like, yep, that one's out of the zone. So I do my charges. Hits because I'm at 7 and he's a def 11. So dice -3s, do a decent chunk. I buy with my corpse because no better time. And then the second charge kills him.
Yep, so you definitely overcommitted on the Ravager train here, but now you've got to try and figure out what to do with that last one.
Because my plan was Iona could score the zone because I'm up. He's not contesting my flag, so I'm going to automatically go 4-2. So if I can squeak out 2 more points, I win. We had to look up the rules because my plan here now is like Brian only has 26 seconds left, so I don't think he can pull out of the game. But I'd rather just like win the game this turn instead of like flipping it back to him and make him play out 26 seconds of just flipping it back and forth. So I trample the Stalker after we look up a rule, and he's in range to trample and then buy an attack on my Ravager in the butt, and he boosts the hit, hits, warp strength, auto kills, no tough check. So now Iona runs to his zone, and since I am the active player, I will score his zone. I score my zone with my Ravagers that are now fully in the zone because I killed the one out of the zone, and I score my flag to go 6-2.
7-3.
I was at 4.
I scored.
Oh, yeah.
I scored the bottom zone or the top zone last turn.
Yep, so 7-3.
So the rule that we had to look up here, I'm sure that this doesn't come up very often for people, and it's kind of hidden in some weird places, is that Aurora and Iona, we don't contest each other. Now, I think once upon a time you might have been able to score the zone with both casters,
No, it was always active player. We just couldn't
All right,
find.
yeah, we just couldn't find out where it was.
And it's a tactical tip under the scenario pages where it says, like, note if multiple players control a zone, only the active player scores it.
Yep. So we did that, and so that stopped me from scoring an extra point to keep the game going. But either way, it was 26 seconds. I wasn't going to get anything. So going into the second game, I don't have a sideboard to speak of, so I don't change anything. And honestly, even if I had one, I still wouldn't change it. I think the list works fine.
And my sideboard, I opt not to change anything because, like, I need a stealth solo for my flag because his guns, like, he projects so much threat. Like, if he just pops a CRA into, like, my white main or something on my flag, it's gone. And I feel like I really need the Wolf Rider for contesting his deep flag because that's the only thing I have that can play wide and go around Angels, whereas everything else has to fight through. And, like, Lord of the Feast, there's no chance he's hitting an Angel with his gun, even under feet. Like, at Rat 7, he needs a 9.
Yeah, it's rough.
With the Blade Shield, and it's like a rerollable 9 isn't worth him sitting in the middle and dying, especially since he won't get corpses.
So with me having lost the last game, I get to go first, which is this is kind of like my sprinkler time. I think that Aurora 2 really appreciates having turn 1. Being able to just kind of set the engagement line so far forward and have to have Ethan kind of sweat with all of the stuff I've got going on is really important. So I start out with Aurora and put out Arcane Propulsion on the Toro. I walk forward, and then I use my my Reposition 5 and Dodge battle plan, and that gets her pretty much at the midpoint on the table. I think she's just 2 inches away from it because she'll walk up 7 and repo 5, so that's pretty far up. The next thing I do is I am dancing around Ethan's 13-inch threat range. So I know that if he can get some early beats on, he'll take them. So I'm just going to go ahead and set the line really far up the table. So Ethan's got to fight up right away. My Void Archon and Hypatia take the center of the table because they can. Hypatia can apparate into the forest and then charge out of it. So if Ethan wants to try and stay protected, he's still going to take a lot of beats from that. Otherwise, everyone's just kind of rearranging themselves because I think we were thinking about some weird threat ranges on the side, and the ADO takes the flag.
So this is like what people would call the negative play experience of playing in the Strange Bedfellows. Like, at least it's Brawl. Like, I think I even sat here for a while, like, when we talked about it, I was like, at least this is Brawl. So, like, imagine if you had 4 more units that far up.
And what Gaspy.
And Gaspy, because as soon here I'm going to put down the Widget, and guess how far his threat ranges reach?
Yeah.
My deployment zone.
The other problem, the other thing about Brawl that makes this somewhat fair, too, is that my Aurora battle group is more often than not going to be a Toro and 4 Tesselators. Like, that's just what I'm going to play. And that gives her a lot of extreme efficiency from even further away. So, like, you just can't do that in Brawlmachine.
No. But now in Brawl, like, you get to leverage your whole kit. Like, you still get the 2 units of Angels because one of them is free for some stupid reason in theme. And then, like, you still get the battle group, you still get the Spirit Door, and then there I'm measuring, like, okay, how far can I run? And I was like, oh, I can run to engage. And I'm like, it's more to be cute than anything, just to make him apparate backwards instead of forwards. Because with my reach, then that way, like, he has to respect free strikes if he wants to dig even deeper. Because, like, you can't engage the Angels unless you get base to base because they're just gonna apparate back.
Yeah, they'll apparate out of your melee and then just charge back in.
Yep, because there I do get cute. I go up, I feat because I need to play super defenses. I'm like, okay, this is game 2. If I lose, at least I'll go first next game. I boost a pursuit into the bottom unit of Angels. And I think we were just looking up, confirming, like, you thought it was just model. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's model unit because I've pursuited Butcher's unit by hitting his dogs before.
Yeah, I know we recently played a game with the Negra 2, but I was just, like, crossing a lot of pursuit knowledge, and I think she doesn't have it anymore.
She does not. We just played Lilith 1. That was the last Brawl game we played, and it was... I thought I was going to mention it was funny. I'm playing a pursuit caster back-to-back, but this one is infinitely better.
Yep.
So their Ravagers run up under feet. I do fit 3 of them into the woods because I'm like, okay, they're Surefoot, Def 17. Like, I literally just need to survive his feet because her feet does everything. Threat ranges, damage, except a hit buff.
Yeah, everything except for the one thing that I want real bad right now. Because I don't need to damage you more. I need to hit you better.
I mean, with my arm 18, you kind of do. Like, it makes it so you actually have to roll dice.
Yeah.
Stalker goes up, Gnarlhorn goes up, and Iona camps 2, and then I run really far with her. Because, like, I know you're not going to turn an angel around to deal with her, but I want to make sure, like, I'm going to go at that flag all game.
So this is... I have two options here. I can either just sandpaper off the things that Ethan's kind of presented to me. Maybe I could go ahead and break off and deal with the Wolf Rider champion. But that doesn't sound like something I really want to do here. I'm going for big gains, and I'm getting a little spicy with my plans here. So I apparate my angels. Some of them are the Clockwork Angels are apparating up so that they can kind of get around this forest and get into some of Ethan's Ravagers that are not in the zone. I think there might be a Stalker back there that they could get to maybe, but it'd be real tough. So the Negation Angels back up because they're going to be charging, and this way they just get their 3 inches and should be able to do some work to some things. The thing that I'm plotting out in the middle here is the Toro. Like, can the Toro charge one of the Ravagers that he can see and then get reach to the UA? And the way that I've put the proxy down here, I'm thinking that it's really, really close. And then I put down my my 2-inch widget to see if I've got reach on him. And I think I end up bumping him a little bit, but even with the bump, he's well within reach. So my goal here then is to try and get the Toro fully loaded and charged into the Ravager that's in the front, and then kill that and use the rest of my focus to buy a sword and boost on the UA so I can try and take that guy out too. So right now I'm just kind of figuring out how deep in this play I want to go. And I do end up getting a little bit more... I'm going super spice on this one. I get Aurora super duper far up the table, and even though Ethan tries to throw his Gnarlhorn at me with a counter slam.
Yeah, because I was like, flip it to me. I can counter slam, and I can counter slam straight towards you and hit my own Miles base. And I was like, leave this time here for me to bitch about counter slam, and then it's over.
So that's Ethan's time on the floor.
No, there'll be more later.
So Aurora charges in. She ends up interrupting her charge to get Hand of Destruction on the Ravager unit, because this will help my Toro out quite a bit. And even with Hand of Destruction, my charge attack misses, and that Ravager is able to repo into the forest, which is kind of like the nightmare scenario for this big play that I want to start off right away. So instead, I've decided to use the battle plan this turn for dual attack instead of getting the dodge repo one. The repo one would be really nice for trying to plan for like the next turns, but I'm really wanting to go deep here. So I end up shooting one of the Ravagers that I'm in combat with and end up taking it down.
You did shoot the back Ravager.
I shot the back one. Yeah, so this is where things get screwbally, because I did feat this turn, and I hit the Ravager in front. It did not tough, and then I told Ethan, wait, you've got to add a couple damage to the one in back because I forgot feat was up and it does work on ranged. So that means that the Ravager in back needed to take a tough check and not just rapid heal. And so we'll get there eventually. I just not quite sure. Oh, so there's just a dude. Away. There's a dude just hanging out there with his dial.
Yep.
So now I'm moving up my Assimilator next and trying to get as many like extra attacks as I can to deal with Ravagers before things get weird. So I look up my ground pounder and have a discussion with Ethan and realize that if I were to ground pounder, all these guys could dodge off of it. So I just decide to shoot the one Ravager that's damaged, and I do end up taking it off the table even though I needed a 10 to hit. And blast damage doesn't quite get enough to take out the one next to him. I think I might not have even rolled it, to be honest. Oh, no, I did roll it. We just didn't break armor.
No, at dice -7, you didn't break.
Yep.
Or dice minus
dice
6.
-11, right?
Oh, yeah, because it's under my feet. That's why I feated.
Yep. So the Assimilator ends up taking down Ravager, so I'm feeling good about that. Aurora might be staring down the barrel of a goat, but I have some plans to kind of deal with that. My Void Archon goes next and decides to go into the Ravager up front and boost because I do have some souls from the Ravagers that died in front, and I miss him, so he dodges away, and then I decide to use my spray attack to try and take him down, and I do end up pushing him out. He does not get to tough because of Entropic Aura, and then I'm kind of getting better into this plan of killing Ravagers. Unfortunately, I'm not able to like kind of get the extra attack out of the void and kind of teleport into a weird place. So now I've just got to rely on the Toro, and he goes in for the charge and misses. And now I take my boosted attack into the UA, and that misses as well. So I rolled like a 5, and it was real harsh because I was really banking on this being the thing that I do, and I just couldn't get it. It was a kind of a coin flip anyways, but I really wanted this to work.
Yeah, because you needed Hand of Destruction 11s.
Yep. So I end up charging in Hypatia, and even she misses too. Not even, because she still needed a 10, but I was just like, yep, I need to just do work here. So she ends up not connecting, getting another Ravager to dodge, and that Ravager dodges to engage 2 of my Clockwork Angels, so like they were going to go do work, but now they can't do as much work as they wanted to. So now I decide to send off my missiles of the Negation Angels into the Gnarlhorn Satyr. Riphorn? Gnarlhorn?
Gnarlhorn. And then this is where I get cute, and I pursuit Iona, because she is a model in her battle group, and she can pursuit. So she pursuits her 7 inches around the angels.
Yep, and I won't say that I forgot about Pursuit. I just wasn't thinking about Pursuit to get a better vector on my caster, because I did say, you know, I'm going to try and... Yeah, I was hoping that the Void could teleport to kind of body block her a little bit, but not being able to get it kind of shut that down a little. So the Angels go in, and they're hitting with both their sword and their guns, because once the sword connects, you're automatically paralyzed. So none of these Angels miss any of their attacks, and after everything is said and done, I leave that Gnarlhorn on 1, and it was pretty average that it should have gone down here.
Yeah, because you were dice -2 on the charges.
Yeah, there were just some unfortunate dice that came up there. And then Widget comes up and tries to ancillary the Toro for just like a little Hail Mary, and he misses, and we get another dodge. So that passes my turn. I don't think things are looking super great for me, but I feel good about beating stuff up.
Yeah, originally when I put Pursuit out there, my plan was to back the Gnarlhorn up after like the first one, and like I knew I'd get paralyzed, and so I'd take 1 free strike, but like, and I wouldn't be able to do anything, but at least I'd be alive. But then when I saw like, I was not expecting Aurora to come up and do work and sit naked, and then like, you didn't make the Pursuit mistake, but you moved your Pursuit unit last.
Yeah.
So like there was nothing left to counter my movement, and here eventually like I point out you didn't move your Clockwork, so I think we do flip it to you.
Yeah, we flip it over to me, and I'm just like, okay, I'll do some stuff real quick here, and there's not a lot that they have to do. I'm just gonna go ahead and charge them into the Ravager that they're engaged with, and he is also in the stupid forest. So I'm checking to see if they've got combined melee, and they don't.
They have combined range.
They have ranged only. So I go ahead and throw the first one, and they miss, and then you dodge out, and now you can continue with your turn as scheduled.
Yep, and that is why I took this side. I never mentioned it because I knew how far he threatened.
Yeah.
Like, I knew he threatened my deployment zone top of 2. Like, I needed to get up in that forest.
That forest is way more defensive for you.
Yes, that is the only reason I think, like, your attacks have been missing. And now, like, I have a lane to Aurora because he gave it to me. So now I'm just measuring, like, my Vengeance moves. I'm Vengeancing around, so that way the Toro's not getting a counter charge to the woods, and I'm punching Angels. So I did drop Surefoot, and I do drop Pursuit. I think I dropped him early, even though they're supposed to do Vengeance attacks first. But, like, I'm actually clearing out Angels, so, like, most of the Angels are dead. My feat's over, but I still, like, Aurora's just sitting there naked, and I think I can pretty much kill her. So here we get really cute, and the Blood Shaman, she ritual sacrifices the Gnarlhorn to sacrifice him because it just says friendly faction model. And so I sacrifice my 1 hit point goat to give Iona Divine Inspiration. And because of the way Aurora was angled, I can charge into her rear arc because I have parry. And then, like, I lead with Divine Inspiration, I hit, and it's a boosted POW 15 with Brutal, and I leave her on 4.
Yeah, it's a little rough hit for the first one.
And I buy an attack, miss, boost damage, and then leave her on 2, buy an attack, hit, boost damage, and then I roll like an attack that would have one-shotted her.
Yep, so I ended up... Overall, I feel like Aurora 2 is a really good brawlmachine caster. Like, I don't think her list really changes much from this. I think there's a lot of value in the Toro. The only thing that it does is it kind of makes it so that induction doesn't really do a whole lot for you. So the Assimilator being a weapon master jack that I can hot swap the Arcane Propulsion too, if I wanted to get POW 15 Weapon Master attacks, is pretty decent. I'm sure that there's probably some like room for tinkering with the battle group a bunch. Like this is just kind of what I went with. I wanted something more combat centric. And it does have a gun, and it's not terrible rat. I mean, rat 5 is still like workable. But I really think that a lot of the benefit or value in the Aurora list comes from being able to let the Negation Angels and Clockwork Angels do so much work with things like the Feat and the Void Archon.
Yeah.
So the list feels really good. You can threaten real far. It's just the one thing that she has a problem with is anything that kind of cranks defense. And the Surefoot Treewalker Tharn is just really harsh. And I don't know what it is with the Crimsy people, but it's like every single time I'd random generate a table, there's always a forest in the middle. It's like the one thing they always do. So as long as I keep using that, Ethan's Tharn are going to be super duper happy.
They must be a circle player.
They have to.
Because like if I didn't have the forest there, like, yeah, Def 15 is pretty good. But once you got Hand of Destruction, like a couple of those attacks from the Toro would have hit, probably killed. And then it's like, now I'm down. And then your Angels and Hypatia could have hit easier. Like, the forest is what saved me this game, and like if that wasn't there, I legit like I sat at the table and I was like, what do I do bottom of one? Like I've had the luxury, thank you Corona, of not having to play into Strange Bedfellows at 75 points, and like that's why I mentioned when we were first like at the table, I was like, man, I'm really glad we're not playing a 75-point game, because like what do I do? Like, you have all the Angels, they'll be in my deployment zone, and they still have Gaspy.
Well, and those little Angels hurt, man. The Negation Angels without Dark Shroud were swinging at POW plus Strength 16.
Yeah, with Dark Shroud, it's POW 18s, and it's just like, why is your free unit dice damage on my heavies?
It's like getting a free heavy, really.
Yeah.
A free heavy with 3 attacks.
Yeah.
Like a Slayer.
Yeah, it's 3 free boosted damage attacks, and like, Paralyze is just so ball busting against some factions. Like,
yeah, it's harsh. Especially considering like the Angels themselves are also kind of hard to hit too. So if I do things like Scalpel Out Your Mind or an Arm with those, and then I can repo back underneath my my displacement, or not my displacement, but my repo and dodge battle order or battle plan, that just makes it really difficult for you to retaliate in any way with you being paralyzed too.
Yeah, it's just really good, and all of her abilities, like, and you got to leverage her full kit with the Spirit Doors tricks, but like she's like, yeah, I can't drop a gun line into her because she has flying high and above it all, so your stuff's neg 3 range and immune to AoEs, and you can do repo and dodge, or you can do dual attack. Like, it's just so versatile. Like, she does everything except extreme defenses, and she still maybe can if a Negation Angel cranks the Paralyze.
Yeah, that's the one saving grace for them. The Negation Angels they do work, and they also kind of shift the math a little bit. But the of all the models in the game that have battle plans, I think she has the best out of any. Like, I really don't think you can get much better than her.
Well, most battle plans are target unit, target
it's not
model.
your command range.
It's not command 9 and just trivially affects your whole army.
They're all intense too. Like, I just think Aurora 2 is such a phenomenal caster, and it's really unfortunate that she got stapled into the mercenary role. Like, I get that there's the family feud thing that makes her a mercenary somehow, but like, game balance wise, I just don't think that mercenaries really needed another amazing infantry list that utilizes Gaspy for a bunch. I really do think that this, you can hate me for it if you want to, but I do think that this list should have been Crix and Convergence only.
See, I don't think that's a hot take at all. Literally every single player I've ever talked to about Strange Bedfellows says the same thing. It's like, why is this a Merc list? And the answer is, because PP said so. Like, why isn't it a Crix theme? And like, I
don't see why they wanted to save it out or keep it out of Crix for balance reasons, but leave it in Mercs and think that it's perfectly fine.
And then still like give the free Negation Angels on top of it. Like, taking
free Negation
3 free
Angels
units I mean, realistically, you might take 2 free units and take a corollary, but if you're just playing your min battle group anyway, then it's like...
Yeah, the points are the same either way.
I mean, it's just more of like, if you're not utilizing your full Warjack points anyway, like say you did Toro and like a couple Teslators and you had points left over, like now that's points you're not using, where you could take a corollary and actually buy it and then get the angels for free. But they're so good free, like, oh, with her. And like, we could bitch about Strange Bedfellows forever, but like my last complaints about it is like, A, I dislike the theme, and B, I find the theme hilarious because has been one of arguably the best themes in the game for a while, and it is comprised of the shittiest units from 3 factions. Like, it's got Bile Thralls, it's got Soul Hunters, it's got the little E-Leap guys from Signar, it's got Angels and stuff, like things that don't see play in other themes in their core factions, and they threw them in this theme, and it's one of the best themes in the game because you don't take that shit stuff. You take all the good stuff that's just miraculously allowed in theme, and you ignore the rest.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a case to be made for like Aurora 1 with Soul Hunters because they just threat so far with her. But
I've seen that floating around, but it's still like,
it's probably more cute than good.
Why spend 20 points on Soul Hunters when that's 3 units of Angels and
you get
to
the
spare?
Angels too.
I mean, but that's 3 units of normal Angels and 5 more points.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's probably more cute than good, but it's still threatening nonetheless. So outside of complaining about Strange Bedfellows, I think this list in Brawlmachine was really fun to play, even if I just like really didn't play it the most efficiently. I kind of little kidded it a lot, but I do think she's strong. I don't think she's a problem for Brawlmachine, but I do think that in 75 points is where this kind of gets a little like screwball-y.
I mean, I can see her being like top of the tier for Brawl. It's one of those things like, okay, when we play matchups, are they really that good, or is maybe like the other caster in Brawl just not that good?
Yeah.
Like,
I think if this were a not Iona game or someone who wasn't bringing a big defense buff, I feel like our opinion would be different.
Exactly. Like, I brought a list that could handle it because I'm so like survivable def wise. Like, if I didn't have good defensive, like if I brought like I was thinking about playing Baldur 1 Tharn with the Blood Trackers, like you would have ripped that list apart.
Yeah.
And then like the Void, he's like, I still say the Void is too good for Brawl. Like, he didn't do much of this games because he was into these medium bases where he needed high dice rolls, but like when he goes into single wound infantry and he just teleports around in all of his vectors, like he does so much. And then in the list you take him, you're buffing him somehow. So like I saw there's a thread where the line of sight people talked about how like it's not the Void Archon that's the problem, it's Lord Azelzalo's Void Archon with Phantasm and Storm Ranger and Feet.
I think it's anyone's Void Archon really. Like he just does too much
because
in
you're
so
taking
many different
him,
ways.
You're taking him if you can buff him. Like
Yeah.
you're not just taking a random Void Archon because he's so good, because he is. You're taking him because he's really good, and you're buffing the shit out of him. Like here, even like the +2 damage and all your battle plans work on him because he's friendly faction and Strange Bedfellows. Like,
Yeah.
He's just good.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed watching this game through. I know we got a little salty towards the end, but I don't think it would be a normal Big Top Gaming battle report if we didn't.
Yeah. I guess before we close off, though, I did want to talk about, like, I feel bad playing Brawl lists for Circle that are always Tharn. And I want to, like, at least put out the disclaimer. I've tried building other themes for Tharn, or for Circle, and it's just, like, it always boils back down to Tharn. Like, the other themes just don't scale well at 25 points. And, like...
Yeah, the your World War list is just too prescribed.
You just don't get the good stuff. Like, you can't take Sentry Stones, and then you're left with, like, Warjack equivalent War Beasts that you can't...
That are overcosted for Warjacks.
No, the Wold Warden's not overcosted because they reduce his points. The Wold Guardian, though, at speed 4 is like, he's not going to do anything. And then Wild Hunt, the Living Heavies are so overcosted. And most of the stuff you can take in Wild Hunt, you can just take in Tharn anyway. Like, Death Wolves or stuff. Like, I've been wanting to get Death Wolves on the channel, but then it's like, well, now I'm playing in Tharn, so they get the free corpse.
Yeah.
Because, like, outside of Tharn, I think they're fine, but when they start with a corpse, like, maybe they're epic list worthy. And then, like, Secret Masters, I'm not going to touch that dumpster fire at 25. I've tried it at 75, and I can't.
Yeah. Circle's just kind of been, like, designed into this weird place where, like, they're an elite feeling faction without really the justification for the points.
That's
like,
just
at
all
least
living,
for the living war beasts.
That's all living war beasts. There's like like we can go into high rants about war beasts in the game and how they're not great. Like there's a few that stand out, like, and they're all in one faction group.
Clocks.
Yeah, skin and bones and clocks exist,
Yep.
so that means war beasts are okay. But no, like if people have like ideas for circle lists in Brawl that aren't Tharn, I'd be super stoked to listen to them and try them out, because like I'm just having such a hard time building Brawl lists. I feel like, okay, this is like me playing around, just having some fun, but it's like I don't want to set the standard of Brawl, but it's like you need a list that can deal with those casters and stuff that actually excel at Brawl, like not to like set Striker 2 or like even Aurora 2 or Iona as the baseline, but like I feel like you almost have to either bring something that's good and can handle stuff, or have like a conversation with your opponent of like, okay, I'm gonna play this caster that's not that great.
Yeah,
Please.
even though Brawlmachine is still designed with a structure, right, that is meant to kind of pull back on some of those NPEs or negative play experiences, it still is worth having that social contract struck at the beginning of the game to figure out what you are going to play, because as we had seen with someone who like God, why can I never remember her name, the stupid Ogren lady, Animeg. I keep on wanting to call her Agathon, and I'm just like, that's not her name.
But that's a good caster.
Yeah, so like even though Agatha, God damn it, even though the Ogren caster is like still really good, all it takes is someone like Striker 2 to smash her down. Like Striker, I'll complain about Striker 2 all day in this format, but like if you're playing against someone who's like, bring what you want, I'm bringing Striker 2, it's like, well, how about you reconsider that?
Because like I could drop Iona into that, because like I can Pac-Man through and like maybe that's a game, but like if I bring like a Wild Hunt list, like I made a Chromac 2 list where I realized it's like this is 8 models, because it's got Getorix, Chromac, and a Stalker, and it's like now I'm already eating my battle group points. And like Wild Hunt, there's no good infantry, so I'm taking like a Black Clad, a Primal Archon, and Death Wolves, and it's just like,
yeah, it's hard to do.
It's like, okay, now I go into a real list that actually has good infantry and good war beasts and good warjacks and a good feat, and a caster that just doesn't have like an 11-inch death bubble. Like it's just, it's good to have that conversation. Like we just bring matchups and play them, just to play them sometimes, but if you're like, once the Rona is over, or even playing on like a league game, it's like it's good to have that conversation of where you want your Brawl experience to be, because I know a lot of people do like a relaxed Brawl game and not like a I'm dropping Old Witch 1 on all your single wound infantry, because like even that game, like, man, that was super fun for me.
Yeah, it was a little rough, but yeah, for sure I think Brawlmachine is still subject to being a better experience with a social contract.
Oh, 100%. It's just setting your expectations with your opponent of what you want out of the game, and you'll both have a much better time.
Absolutely.